A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. My elders, brothers and sisters, salamun alaikum. As Brother Muhammad Hassan mentioned, can you hear me? Today is the last Friday of the holy month of Ramadan. Jummah Mubarak to all of you. It is the International Day of Al-Quds, which is a day that has been set aside to mark a global movement and a remembrance of the oppression that's happening in Palestine. This year's perhaps a little bit more awareness out there in the world because of the events that have happened over the last 6 months that we're all aware of. I'm here this evening to share a little bit of information with you regarding the concept of boycott. You've probably all heard about boycott or BDS, but what is it? Why should we do it? What should we target? There's a lot of lists out there, and it may be confusing in terms of what are the organizations that and companies that should be boycotted. Does it really make a difference if I, just as a single consumer, choose to boycott or not support a particular company? And you've probably seen the infographic that's already been presented. A lot of these companies, like, hey, I deal with these on a daily basis or quite regularly. How can I do without them? So I'm here to, hopefully shed a little bit of light in the few minutes that I have. Inshallah, we will be sharing this infographic. It's already up on the digital boards. The community will also be sharing it out with the community members via our channels. And you'll have a chance to look at the research that's been done. It's been undertaken with the collaboration of brothers and sisters across the community. And this evening, alhamdulillah, across all of the Shia centers in the Lower Mainland, we are giving the same presentation. We have also been working in collaboration with and direction of the local scholars as well. So for each company that's up there, and I'm not going to go into the detail because I don't have enough time, but you can look at the detail in the research. And at the end, we'll also post, and it'll be shared out, a link to ask any questions that you might have. And I'll also be around afterwards if you do have questions. But we provided the reason why. And why is it important? It's really targeted boycott. So if we do things collectively, and you've probably all heard of or have done some research on your own about the BDS movement, targeted campaigns definitely can be very effective. Sheikh Murtaja just mentioned today at Jummah Khutbah how McDonald's has had to go and purchase now all of the franchises in Israel. 255, I think, was the number that was quoted, just because of the impact that the boycott has had. So yes, collectively, if we all come together, it does make an impact. And that's why when you mention this, the Zionist lobby does feel it, because they know that if the world gets behind this, it can really cause a lot of economic impact. So why did we select the companies that we did? We really are targeting the ones that are frequently used by the everyday consumer, including ones that have a high impact on the occupation and the Israeli economy. And as we said, you may already be boycotting other companies that aren't on this list. Just because you don't see it here doesn't mean stop. By all means, continue. But we've just tried to highlight sort of the top 10 and the reasons why. And we've provided alternatives. So it's not like, hey, I got my favorite chocolate bar or my favorite drink up there. What am I going to do? There's alternatives, right? So I think we can all make a little bit of sacrifice once we understand how supporting these companies is actually hurting our brothers and sisters in Palestine. I know my time is coming to an end, but I just want to highlight just very quickly, one or two companies you may see up there, like, Amazon. Almost everyone, including myself, right? We order from Amazon because it's just so convenient. Are there alternatives? Yes, there are. Why are we picking Amazon? They are very much, complicit in providing AI and cloud computing technology to the occupied forces in Israel. And so you may think it's a huge organization. The whole world uses them. How can my lack of involvement? But even if we all do a little bit to say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to avoid them or reduce my engagement with them, it will definitely make a difference. Other companies that we've listed up there, like Nestle and L'Oreal, they have a lot of child companies under them as well. So they're listed, and I know it's maybe pretty small for everybody to read, but inshallah, we will share that. The AV team, Brother Kashif, if you can just put up the URL and if you have that, the QR code. So like I said, we will be sharing this out, and if there are any questions, inshallah, we can. Thank you all for your time. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Brother Mahmoud, for sharing this information. It is important. Slowly, everyone they make their part of here. It's going to help out. I would like now to call Brother Khalil Jessa, who will also have a presentation or speech about that. Salawat. Is this good? You want the other one? Yes? Yes? Yeah, sure.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Thank you for that, Mahmoud Uncle. It's very informative. So, after 6 months of seeing the terribleness that's happening, I wonder, how are we all feeling? I'm going to put that out to you if anyone has an answer, and then I'll tell you how I'm feeling. I'll tell you how I'm feeling. I'm feeling very angry. I'm feeling often helpless and hopeless. I'm feeling undervalued. I'm feeling disregarded. And I thought a lot about, what to talk about today. And the last couple of times I've spoken about the history of how we got to this point. But today I want to talk about the present. And I think after seeing so much terribleness on our screens on a daily basis, it's very easy to become very negative and to lose hope. And it's extremely important for us to have hope. In the Quran, Allah tells us to have hope in a better future. And so long as we are steadfast and believe in Allah, we should have that hope. It's our duty as Muslims. So I want to talk about things that have happened over the last 6 months that should bring us hope. So here are some things that have happened. Canada and other nations have reinstated funding for UNRWA, which means that Israel was unable to provide any evidence that UNRWA employees took part in the events of October 7th, which puts governments around the world at odds with their citizens and makes them look incompetent by just simply going along with Israel's lies. We had gotten Selena Robinson, a minister here, removed from her cabinet position because of her colonialist comments. And that was a totally grassroots movement without any help from the opposition and opposition parties in the legislature. And it is unprecedented that we would be able to do that. And it puts other politicians on notice that they cannot spew the kind of racist hate that they've been spewing. There's been a push to have local municipalities call for a ceasefire. Langley and Burnaby have passed ceasefire motions, and Port Moody did it well, although that only lasted for 48 hours. There's still hope that that might change again. And that was 100% the result of all the work that we've done. Universities around the world, including the ones in Canada, have passed resolutions condemning Israel for their settler colonialism and the genocide. And when I was a student, we repeatedly tried to pass similar resolutions, but we were not able to. And today, they're able to pass those resolutions. Yesterday, as Mahmoud Uncle mentioned, McDonald's bought up all of the franchises in Israel, which is proof that boycotts have been working. The Houthis continue to disrupt global trade, creating an economic cost and consequence for participating in the genocide. In July, Spain intends to recognize Palestine as a state, and the UK might do the same as well. And that is an enormous shift in policy in Europe and pushes against the Israeli assertion that Palestine can only be recognized through negotiations with Israel. The UN Security Council passed a resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire for the month of Ramadan with the unconditional release of hostages and an urgent need to expand the flow of aid into Gaza, despite the fact that the US immediately undermined that by calling it non-binding. It's still an unprecedented thing to happen in the UN Security Council to put a resolution against Israel through that body, while the US abstaining. So the establishment consensus has broken. Western states, they're no longer aligned with what to do about Israel. The global south is quickly rising and as having the moral high ground in the world. South Africa launched a case against Israel in the ICJ for their crime of genocide, and they were told, they got a semi-ruling that they have a plausible genocide. That is unprecedented as well, that a Western-backed nation run by a white majority would be taken to the ICJ. It's using the same system of control against them. Generation Z, or Z, is continuing to show us a new type of activism, and they're educating people on this topic more rapidly than ever before. People are more educated, and we are teaching each other how to spot lies in the media and Zionist propaganda. So the Hasbara is no longer accepted so blindly anymore. And what you can say publicly has changed. The wall of fear that prevented people from calling out Israel or risk being smeared with the label of anti-Semitism is no longer holds water. That label no longer has the same effect of shutting down debate as it used to. In fact, now being called a Zionist has become a slur. People around the world now understand how all of our struggles are interconnected. Many young Jewish people are undoing the brainwashing that has been done to them. There's a fissure between Israeli Jews, North American Jews, and that cannot be fixed. Israel relied on that groupthink of the Jewish diaspora to uphold the idea of Zionism. They can no longer rely on that cohesiveness. And just the other day, sadly, as a result of the killing of those 7 members of World Central Kitchen, Israel has just opened up Beit Harun and the Eretz crossing for the first time since October 7th, which shows that Israel is so dependent on the United States that it literally just took one phone call to reverse Israeli policy. The US can no longer claim that it was doing all it could to change Israel's actions after that shift in Israel policy. It's extremely rare for a matter in this day and age to remain in the news for 6 months. In the world where our attention spans are so short, this has occupied so much of our consciousness. We are all exhausted, but this is a marathon, and sometimes we need to put down the baton and pass it on to someone else before picking it back up. It's okay to take a rest, but we should not give up. We should all recognize that this is a struggle that has been going on for 75 years, but that in relative terms, we are very close to the finish line. We cannot stop pushing because it's making a difference. Ilian Pape, who is one of the foremost historians in Israel, has said that speaking as a scholar and a historian, this is the beginning of the end of Zionism. There is no going back to the way things were. One individual pushing up against a dam won't do much. But since each one of us has been pushing up against that dam since October 8th to try and stop this genocide, we are starting to see the results of our work. And believe me, that dam is going to burst. Palestine will be free, and I am more certain about that than I have ever been before. Thank you. Salawat.